Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Fried Chicken and Curry. My 26 female ex-boyfriend, 26 male, wants a second chance after abandoning me and our child, 2 male, for his culture. Background. So, I met my ex, Raj, during the beginning of my senior year of undergrad. I went to a fairly diverse university and we met at a party. We hit it off right away, which was surprising. You see, Raj is Indian and I am black. While that may not seem like a big deal to some, as I continue, you'll see why it is. Anyways, at my university, the Indian students tend to click up and keep to themselves. No biggie, I get it. It's a cultural thing and they have a lot in common with each other. That's why I was surprised when he approached me. I thought he was cute, so I talked to him. At the end of the night, he asked me for my number. I gave it to him and he texted me that same night. The next day, we went on an official date and had been practically inseparable ever since. As we got to know each other, I learned that he was a first-generation Indian American and is the firstborn son. When he told me that, I didn't really take it beyond face value. I relayed that I am the last-born daughter of Black Americans that have been here for generations, and we moved on. We had been dating for around 3 months before I realized I was in love. He was smart, sweet, funny, and would truly do anything for anyone, except me apparently. At the 7th or 8th month mark, I thought it was time to meet each other's families. It was clear that we were serious about each other and graduation would be coming up soon. My parents live out of state, as did his, but both would be flying in for the graduation, so I thought it would be a perfect opportunity. I had already told them about Raj, and they had talked to him briefly on Skype a couple of times. I had only ever seen pictures of his family, however. He spoke about them relatively frequently and would say little things like, "My mom is going to love you," or "My sister likes X as well, you guys will probably get along." I had just assumed that they knew about me and were fine with our relationship. I didn't think there was a reason they wouldn't be. Moving along, graduation comes up, and the week or so before, we get into a big fight about where our relationship was going after graduation, and he broke up with me. The plan was we were going to be moving in together in the city we went to college in, but he wasn't sure anymore because he hadn't gotten a job offer yet. This was after we had already gone apartment hunting and signed a lease for one I couldn't afford by myself. He didn't think I was being sympathetic or something like that and ended the relationship. Looking back now, he picked the fight as an excuse. Of course, I was devastated, but my family came and the high of getting my degree put a band-aid on things for a while. Like any girl fresh from a breakup with someone they still love, I stalked his social media. His family indeed came to town and they were all smiles in the pictures. We were in different schools within our huge university, so the odds of seeing him or his family during graduation were slim. So I didn't get my hopes up for accidentally bumping into them. I saw from his social media that after graduation he went to India for a couple of weeks and he looked like he was having the time of his life. Anyways, I moved into the apartment we picked out since it was going to be hard to break the lease. Thankfully, my dad picked up some of the slack with the rent. It was a 1-bedroom, which is why I couldn't get a roommate, and began my career. A little over a month after graduation, I get a knock on my door. It's Raj. He's holding flowers, looking apologetic and cute, and like a fool, I let him in. He explains that he was stressed about being an adult and just wanted to be able to pull his weight in the relationship. He didn't want me to be paying the majority of the rent while he worked a minimum wage job while hoping to get an offer in his chosen field. That made sense to me. While I wouldn't call him misogynistic, being the head of the household was definitely important to him. I forgave him and we got back together. While he was away, he got a job offer and was making more than enough to be an actual partner and above that. We were very happy, but I still had yet to meet his family. He had met mine during a Thanksgiving holiday and I mentioned going to his for Christmas, but we ended up spending it separately. Time went on and I stopped pushing, but would still bring it up occasionally. And then I got pregnant a little more than 2 years into our relationship. He was excited, I was excited, we were excited. Marriage became more than just an idea and we were talking about tying the knot after the baby was born. With the child on the way, family became even more important to me. I pushed harder than ever to meet his. I was always met with an excuse. They were out of the country, his mom was sick, we couldn't afford the airfare, there was already family visiting them, and he didn't want to bombard me, etc, etc, etc. The 9 months flew by and I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. My family was there, but his wasn't. Not even a gift, card, or call. I remember asking if they even knew I was pregnant, and he just dismissed the question. 6 months after giving birth, I gave Raj an ultimatum. You set up a meeting with your family or I'm contacting them. I had never done it before because I didn't feel like I should be the one to take that step, but I had had enough. I'm the mother of their grandson and nephew, and he deserves to know that side of himself and learn about his culture. Finally, he gave in. Turns out he was lying about where they lived and were actually a couple of hours away. I was beyond pissed. On the way there, he tried to explain that he kept me away for my own sake, but I wasn't hearing it at the time. We get to his hometown and meet his mom, dad, and one of his siblings at a restaurant. I was hella nervous, but Raj was petrified. It still didn't click for me. We sit down for dinner and immediately I'm uncomfortable. To say they were shocked to see me and my son was an understatement. His parents barely acknowledged my son, though his sister did coo at him until the father gave her a look to stop. Raj explained who I am, and the entire dinner they refused to speak English, let alone look at me. There were just a lot of angry voices and gesturing in my direction. Raj tried his best to reply in English and defend me, but as the verbal assault got worse, he stopped replying in English. I guess so I could be completely in the dark about what they were saying about me. Since I was being shut down, I began putting pieces together in my head. He never told them about me. They didn't know we had a son. They would never accept their son was with a non-Indian. Needless to say, I had had enough and we left. On the car ride home, he was extremely apologetic, told me he loved me, that he would cut them off if I wanted, and that he knew they would react that way and that's why he didn't introduce us. I asked a few questions, including how did he keep me a secret for so long. He said he had a separate social media and would overall just lie whenever they asked if he was in a relationship. He broke up with me on purpose during graduation to keep me from meeting them. On his trip to India, he was supposed to be meeting a girl he was to marry, but didn't go through with it because he loved me. I was pissed, of course, but I got it. I did some research and saw it isn't that uncommon for Indian American children to hide their non-Indian significant others from their families. Indians have such a strong culture that going outside of it is still taboo to many. I mean, I know there are still prejudices in the world, believe me, I do, but I thought if they got to know me and their grandchild it would be okay. I didn't break up with him, nor did I demand he cut off his family. They cut him off though. I could tell it bothered him and I began to fear he'd resent me. He didn't though, and we began to move on with our lives. It was a couple of months after my son's first birthday that Raj got a call in the middle of the night. His father had died of a heart attack and he was needed right away. I wanted to be there for him, but given the way his family felt about me, I knew I wouldn't be able to go through the funeral process at his side. He flew to India for a few weeks, and during that time our communication was low. I chalked it up to the time difference and him being busy. When he got back, I could tell something was off. He was barely home a day before he told me that he was the man of the family now and he had to honor that. I cried and asked him not to leave, but he said he had to. He packed up and left. During the time he was gone, he would send money for our son every couple of months, but overall, I didn't hear from him. Of course, I was devastated, but more so for my son. I so want him to grow up with a father as I did. I would send Raj photos and keep him up to date on my little bear, but he wouldn't respond. It was radio silence, and that's when I got pissed. I stopped sending pictures and messages and basically said, F him, it's just me and my son now. So now that you're all caught up, here's my dilemma. He's back once again. He showed up on my doorstep. I slammed it in his face this time. He knocked until I threatened to call the cops. He left after that, but showed up the next day, and the next, and the next. Finally, for my son's sake, okay, mine too, I let him in. He explained that after his father died, his family basically blamed him for it. They said the stress of the dishonor he caused by being with me sent his dad to an early grave. He let them guilt him into leaving us and going back to them. Once again, they tried to marry him off, and once again, he didn't go through with it. He said he still loved me, loved our son, missed us, and hated that he abandoned us. He said he knew that he'd have to earn my trust, but he wants to be a family again. This was yesterday. So here's the question. Do I take him back? I still love him, but trust is shattered. I don't know if it can ever be repaired. If I don't take him back, how much access should I give him to our son? I don't want him to get attached to his father only for Raj to disappear the next time there's a family emergency. And lastly, has anyone else had this problem? Wow, OP, this is a very tough situation, particularly because of your son. As some of you know, I'm always going to advocate for what's best for the child. And even though I do believe that him growing up with his father is a positive, all of the questions and doubts that you have regarding trusting Raj are very well founded. He has abandoned you, let's say, twice. First, he broke up with you because he was just too much of a coward to actually tell his family that he had a non-Indian girlfriend, and then he let his family guilt trip him into abandoning you properly. So if I was you, OP, at a minimum, I'd be incredibly weary regarding having Raj back in our lives. Do you take him back? Well, he needs to earn your trust first before you can even try to answer that question. Thing is, I wouldn't take him back right away. How much access should he have to his son? The same as trust, he needs to earn it little by little. I would start maybe with 1-hour visitations once every few days or something like that. But again, like I said in the beginning, it is a very difficult situation. I've never been in it, so I'm just basically talking about what seems logical to me, not out of experience. What about you guys? What do you guys think OP should do at this point? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Miavin 2 says, he was the man of his own family, with a son of his own that he dropped out of guilt. What made him think you and your son weren't his family, the one where he was needed the most? At the very least, counseling to figure his loyalties out and work through the damage done to you and your son. He will be better off, and so will you if you can work through this as adults, whether you stay together or not. The Drew Scriver says, quote, my ex abandoned me and our son out of some sense of cultural obligation after his father died. End quote. No, he didn't. He abandoned you because he's a dick. I am Indian, and yes, we have some backward stuff in our third world country, but this idiot was raised here and had his family here. He knew right off the bat that his family would disapprove and shouldn't have entered a relationship if he didn't want to stand up for the relationship. He even lied about where they lived and abandoned you at graduation so he wouldn't have to stand up for himself. He has shown his true colors from the start, hid you from his family, and always put them first. He will abandon you again the first chance he gets because that is what he does. At best, you can set up visitation with your son, hit him with child support, and fight for custody. Because who the hell knows, he might want the kid. Get a lawyer, keep your child close to you, and stay away from this miserable human being. Cultural difference is my foot. Being an ass is not a cultural thing. Fitzvilliga says, right now I would take dating off the table. Full child support, not money occasionally every few months. He makes an effort to actually be a father, and the two of you can work on building a relationship as co-parents first and people who occasionally get coffee second. If he proves with time that he's actually there to stay, maybe you can reconsider a relationship. OP's edit. I have read everyone's comments so far and I truly appreciate all the advice. I'm on a lunch break, so I want to be brief and address a couple of things. He is not staying with me currently, and we only talked for maybe 30 to 45 minutes the other night. Someone asked if his parents knew I was black or not before dinner, and I could only assume by their faces that they didn't. Many of you have pointed out that my excusing his behavior because of his cultural ties needs to stop, and I see that now. I'm meeting Raj again tonight to iron out a few things. I will give a formal update later on in the week on what we talked about, but I need to do a couple of things first. Mainly, go see a lawyer. Thanks again! Alright, well, the community definitely had some very good advice for OP, and she apparently has taken to it. So let's hop on that time machine and move on to the update to see how this story ends. Hello again everyone, I just wanted to thank everyone for their advice and kind words in my last post. It seemed that the consensus was that Raj was using his culture as an excuse to be a coward and not to trust him or take him back. Many also suggested that I talk to a lawyer to get sole custody of my son and get child support ironed out. So the day I posted, it was a day or two after Raj had just shown up. I was shocked to say the least, and my mind was everywhere. The next day, Raj showed up again, with my knowledge this time, to discuss a few things. I had dropped my son off at my best friend's house for the time being so that we could talk with no interruptions. The conversation went well. I made it clear that for the foreseeable future we will not be getting back together. I made sure he knew that I did not trust him and that at the moment I didn't even like who he was as a person. He asked if I still loved him and I answered honestly that I did. But at this point in time, it didn't matter. He didn't really remark on that but seemed to take it at face value. He said that he understood why we couldn't be together, but that he'd wait for me to be ready again. I told him not to hold his breath and that he needed to focus on being a father and not a boyfriend. This brings me to the next and most important part of the conversation. I told him that, again, for the foreseeable future, he would only be having supervised visits with our son under my discretion. We would be meeting at a specific place at a specific time, and if he missed one meeting, then all bets were off. I also did not want my son to be in contact with anyone from his family. He agreed to all of that with a minor caveat to the last part. He said that when he left his family and cut contact with them, his sister left too. The same sister that was at the dinner and looked to be sympathetic to me and my son. Apparently, she realized what was happening was wrong and decided to take a stand. I was wary of his sister and told him that I'd have to meet her and speak with her a few times before I was comfortable with her being around my son. I informed Raj that I was going to see a lawyer to talk about custody and child support. He said ultimately, like in a few years, he'd like close to 50-50 time, but for now, he'd go with whatever I wanted. He also threw out a number for child support, more than I was thinking, and we agreed to that number. Of course, we will get this all legally taken care of because his word is crap. At the end of the conversation, I suggested he go and see someone about his family issues and the guilt he feels, and he mentioned he had already looked into it. I'm not sure if that meant he has been going or what, but as of right now, I'm not going to push. So that initial conversation was great. I went and saw a lawyer and he said with our history, I would have no problem getting everything I asked for, especially since Raj isn't putting up a fight. We have an appointment with a mediator in the next few weeks to make it all legally binding. Ever since he's been back, Raj has been calling every day to talk to our son. A few days after our second conversation, he brought a check for the back child support, something I hadn't yet asked for, nor was expecting so quickly. He has been showing up for all our meetups early at that, and spends the entire time with our son and not trying to get back with me. That was something I was worried about, but he's been trying to prove he can be a father. Before he left, I would have said he was an excellent hands-on dad, and it looks like that guy is coming back. But again, it's only been like 3 weeks. I'll be more confident once he's been consistent for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. Also, yesterday I met with him and his sister without my son, and she seems like a nice person. She was really apologetic and even cried. Apparently, on top of thinking it was wrong the way his parents acted, she's a lesbian and her orientation is frowned upon by their mother. As an aside, I don't want anyone to think all Indian people are racist homophobes, especially since a lot of people of the same or similar culture were commenting on my last post saying they'd experienced something similar. But Raj's family are some seriously judgmental people. Together, they tried to show me proof that they had cut off their family. They showed me unanswered text messages and played me angry voicemails that weren't in English, but they sounded mad and Raj translated. He showed me an email that his mother sent that was in English, basically telling him that if he came back now and married the girl they had lined up for him, all would be forgiven. But if he didn't, he was disowned and they would never talk to him again. His reply to that was that he was with his family and that he was not going to leave us again. It seemed to be legit, but I'm skeptical. Nothing but time will fix that. So there you have it. Raj is being a father. We are not getting back together anytime soon, if at all, and he has cut off his family for good, hopefully. I know many said that I shouldn't have even given him another chance to be in our son's life, but making that decision would not have been fair to my son. Raj knows this is his last chance and that he better not F up. Well, OP, I think this is a good and positive update. You are making all the right decisions, in my opinion. Like you say, keeping Raj away from your son wouldn't be fair to your son at this point, and apparently Raj is proving that he can be a dad. Let's just hope he keeps it up. And regarding your relationship with him, well, that's something that time will tell where it goes, and that's it. No sense in rushing it. So you just focus on what's important here, and that is you and your son. Thank you for sharing, OP, and take care. Now, I know this video has been long, but how about we finish it with a quick mood booster? This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge, and it's by user Mr. Cups. Costco Revenge. My mom accidentally ran into someone's heel with her cart in Costco. My mom is the nicest lady ever and started apologizing profusely, but the guy was just nasty. Cussed her out so loud, and my mom stayed calm and apologized some more, but finally had to walk away when he just kept berating her. Later, when she got up to the checkout, a couple approached her, snickering and trying not to bust up laughing. My mom was confused until they conspiratorially told her, "We saw how bad you felt for running into that guy and saw how nasty he was to you. And then we saw him leave his cart to go grab something. So we took his cart way over to the other side of the store and he's going crazy looking for it." My mom, despite being the nicest lady ever, nearly died laughing. So was this a petty revenge or a petty avenge? Haha. Thanks for sharing, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.